Kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai, welcome to this fantastic conversation that I get to have with Kiri Nathan, ko Zoe Black tōku ingoa. On my mum's side I whakapapa to England, and on my dad's side I whakapapa to the north, Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Hine, and it is an absolute honour and pleasure to be here with Kiri Nathan to talk a little bit about her incredible journey, incredible career, and also just the fact that she's the most incredible wahine that I know. So before we get started, Kiri, maybe you just want to tell everyone about yourself.
Sure. Kia ora koutou. Kei te hare koa au ki te kaupapa, ki te kōrero i tēnei rā. E pāna ki te kākahu toitu. Ko Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Hine, Ngāti Maru, Ngāti Hau, me Ngāti Pāua o Kuiwi, ko Kiri Nathan tōku ingoa. My name's Kiri Nathan. I'm a fashion designer from the label Kiri Nathan, and also the founder of Kāhui Collective, which is a community of Māori fashion designers. And I'm on the pursuit of trying to create the first commercial Māori fashion industry, an industry that understands what it is to have cultural integrity while you're commercialising, and also an industry that understands its responsibility to culture. Aye.
Aware. Huge ambition there. But before we talk about the incredible things you've got coming up, I thought we could start just by talking about how you developed this brand, because it's a massive thing to be putting, a full-time, dedicated job into fashion, especially, a small business developing in Aotearoa. And you've grown your band from 2008 after winning Style Pacifica, but you've also been making for, all of your life. But I just wanted to, maybe so we could start with what pushed you into going to Kiri Nathan full-time?
Yeah, so I suppose it started when I was young. I was inspired watching my grandmother sew. And when I left school, I decided to study visual arts, but majored in fashion. And I was always inspired by the Pacific Sisters, who I believe many have talked to this today, and various Māori and Pacific creatives. And so I would enter all the fashion competitions, and luckily placed in a few of them. And then in 2008, won the Supreme Award. And I'd never had the courage, I guess, to start an actual business and a brand. I've always had children since I was 18, and so this sort of sense of, I guess, fear of not being able to provide for them or create something that was successful enough that it could support you financially and your children, always sort of that fear factor got in the way of me having a go. And then finally, when we won the Supreme Award at Style Pacifica, my husband and I sat down and we thought, you know what, why not? We'll give it a bash. And then we spent 4 years trying to work it all out. 2 years before we even started, registered the business. And then 2 years after that, really just trying to work out how to manufacture efficiently, who the players were, who the key stakeholders were, just how we wanted to do things. But I guess the thing that was really important and always there was that we wanted to create a fashion brand that we'd never seen before. We wanted to create something that had a really strong Māori aesthetic, ethos, and had a really, really strong base and knowledge of what our responsibility was to the culture that we were drawing from, our culture. And so in the process of that, we spent years and years not being accepted in the New Zealand fashion industry. Closed doors everywhere, media wouldn't cover us, people wouldn't stock us, so it was actually really great because it was so profoundly clear that we were not considered fashion, that we were considered competition designers or, home sewers or craftspeople or whatever it is you want to sort of, those little boxes that you get put in. That we couldn't go through the normal process of creating a fashion business, operations, marketing, sales, you name it. We had to recreate everything ourselves. And that was great, because we created something that had never existed before. And so, yeah, we were pretty happy with that.
Well, it's really incredible to know where you started, but also what you've overcome to create what Kiri Nathan is today. And it's, a brand that has become so well known and infamous with using traditional Māori customary techniques, rāranga and other weaving skills. You incorporate a number of different techniques that are pure and intrinsically Māori. And I remember a story that you mentioned to me a wee while ago when you were at MIT and you were creating a beautiful black silk dress, and I think I've seen a photo of it that incorporated some kōwhaiwhai patterns. And you failed with that dress, but it then became this incredible object that talks so much about your passion for using Māori motif, Māori designs, but Māori thinking and Māori, the love of Māori culture within your garments. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what the resilience of that thinking and making sure that has been a constant thread through what you make, but also where that passion has come from.
Yeah, so the dress that you're talking about was a third year assessment. Second or third year, I think it might have been second year actually, assessment that I was doing as part of my degree at the time. And that whole degree I'd based on my whakapapa. So the actual kōwhaiwhai design in that was one that I'd seen on my marae. And really I was trying to flesh things out at that stage. We're talking, I want to say like 30 years ago. Yeah, 30 years ago that happened. And so those were the very, very, early stages of developing how I guess I wanted to create and honour my culture. And then through the years, there's just been these extra learnings that have been popped into the kete along the way. So learning how to traditionally weave with moka and harakeke, and then learning how to weave contemporary kākahu. So there's a thing that I think everyone can get confused on quite often, not everyone, but still a large part of society still call contemporary kākahu kurawai or traditional ingoa or names. And so this is something that really needs to be addressed from everyone, really. Kurawai or traditional ingoa should only be used for garments that have been made with traditional materials and in traditional techniques. And so what we do is we use contemporary mediums. There are so many beautiful traditional weavers that, I go back to what I said earlier. We wanted to create something that we hadn't seen before, and we wanted to create a fashion brand. So we decided that I would weave in contemporary medium and create pieces that were implemented into fashion. And so that's where we sit, but it should always only ever be referred to as kākahu, this contemporary space. And I guess the inspiration and the reason that we do it is whakapapa. It kind of lives inside you, and as you create and practice more and more immerses, I just feel like, how sometimes creatives can get blocks? That never happens. It can never happen because you just have this incredibly generous pool to pull from, when you have whakapapa.
Yeah, and I love that idea of kind of embodied knowledge. It just sits within you, and it's there to tap into whenever you need it, because it's there, and it's something that you learn, but it's really kind of a refinement of knowledge, because it's it sits within you. It's from, as you say, your whakapapa, and that your ancestors have passed it down to you, and it's just sitting there for you to kind of tap into. And I think, there's so many of us that have seen what you've done with, bringing understanding of what Māori designs can be into a contemporary space, and we just thank you for your perseverance with that, because it's obviously seeing where your work is ending up now is incredible, and also just showing the uniqueness of your designs on the world stage as you have done with lots of different people who have worn your garments.
I think it's a mixture of working really hard and being a bit nuts. Yeah, working ridiculous hours, and but the most important thing is that when any of us are creating from our culture, there's this very, very necessary means or need for reciprocation to that culture. And so it's been really lovely over these last 30 years to find myself in situations now where we can really physically and meaningfully give back to our people. So yeah, that's pretty much the tipi topi of te rākau, like the top of the list.
Amazing. And one other component of Kiri Nathan is also the pounamu, the taonga that is also part of your brand that you work on with your husband. And I wondered, could you talk a little bit about how that collaboration came about?
Well, when you say I work on it, I'm just kind of like the bossy person going, I want this, I want that, and then I draw a little pencil, stick drawings or whatever, and I'm like, I want this size, da-da-da-da. But the pounamu realm is Jason's, and he's a prolific creative, not just with pounamu, but in many areas. And so our brand wouldn't be our brand, obviously our whānau wouldn't be our whānau without Jace. And I think he really, his contribution to our creative space puts us in a space that is very unique. To have a weaver, a carver, and a fashion designer in one relationship has been extremely fulfilling. Also creatively dysfunctional, and but no, he's pretty amazing. I'm very lucky.
And just before we wrap up, obviously we want to talk about Kāhui Collective and the incredible work that you and a number of other Māori fashion designers have done to build up a collective of about 20 fashion designers, and you're embarking on a store, you're embarking on an online platform, huge things happening there. And could you tell us a bit about the collective, how it came about, and these exciting things happening soon?
So, Kāhui Collective essentially is a group of Māori that genuinely and authentically support each other's success and well-being. We really care about each other. We're a whānau. So there's always been, Māori and Pacifica designers around it. But I think other than Pacific Sisters, this is the first time that a collective has come together to specifically talk about supporting each other's hauora through what can be a very, very silo and stressful industry, and very much a Eurocentric industry. It's about creating opportunities and pathways to market, and it's about education, re-education and connection to information and networks that you may not have had before. But Kāhui Collective probably has around 28 members right now, and that sounds like such a small number. It really does in the big scheme of things, but this is the direness that we're in as far as retaining and holding on and nurturing and producing more and more Māori fashion designers is that. So Kāhui Collective is one component of an entire ecosystem that I've been trying to build for 7 years now, that needs to be up and operating simultaneously so that we can have a functional industry and that it's sustainable and lasts forever. So Kāhui Collective is the community. And then there are different components that speak to pathways to market internationally and nationally. There's different components that talk to our education structure in New Zealand. So at present, there's no kaiako teachers within the education system that can support and develop Māori fashion designers. There just isn't. And so we want to roll out these programs that we have alongside the tertiary institutions so that our Māori designers can continue to grow and be developed within this stream. And we want to start going out to primary schools and colleges and using all our offcuts of fabrics to create or teach them how to create small pieces, give them small business models so they learn about enterprise, sustainability, ethical, cultural thinking from a young age, and just really identifying the āhuatanga or the superpowers that are in all these, youth and young people that are coming through, and just try and support them where there was nothing before. And we were losing everyone, we're still losing so many. So yeah, we just want to create this full ecosystem, and Kāhui Collective is part of that.
It's incredible, and I think the strength of working together, the strength of coming together to share knowledge, share resources, but also, create a community and an understanding of what the infrastructure needs are of that community to create a sustainable, economy for Māori fashion is huge.
It's so huge. And, let's not forget what the fashion industry is like. Yeah. It's not very kind, Nobody wants to tell you who their best machinist is or their best pattern drafter is. Nobody wants to share that information. But within Kāhui Collective, we've created a Kāhui directory where we've shared everything. That's unheard of in the fashion industry. And we love working together. It really is like a whānau. And so to be able to open that up to others that are out there emerging or even established, it just creates this different culture within the fashion industry culture.
I love it. And I think, stronger together, there's only, success when you're working as a team, but also that reciprocal and also respectful relationship within a community is, it's incredibly fruitful. Yeah. So just before we wrap up, do you want to do a plug of how we can see more about Kāhui Collective?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment we're fitting out our first operations hub called Te Ahuru Mowai in Glen Innes, Auckland, GI till I die. And that space will be the operations warehouse for Kiri Nathan Limited, but it'll also have a book-in service for all of the Kāhui Collective. They can use the sampling room, the photo suite, and anything that they need really. There'll be a showroom in there, an event space and a runway space. Then we're opening a boutique in Britomart, and that will be a Kiri Nathan store, but it will stock Kāhui Collective. So that should be open before Christmas. No mai haere mai, come on in. We need to sell to pay the leases down there. And essentially what these places are is Te Ahuru Mowai, which is a safe haven, is a place where everyone can come, not have to pay, and be able to develop and manufacture their businesses and support. It's a place where we can run our programs and initiatives out of, and the boutique in Britomart is a pathway to market, immediate pathway into markets that would otherwise not know any of the designers in that store. So yeah, these are the two of the components in that ecosystem.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you have with us today, and also creating an idea of a better way of doing things, which I think is what a lot of people in fashion are, craving for. How can we do things better? So thank you so much, Kiri.
You're welcome. I think lots of people are doing great things now. There's lots more kindness out there, and there's lots more collectives and collective thinking. So yeah, the future's bright. That's good.
Amazing.